jealousy because they themselves have achieved nothing in their lives. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, woke don't mean broke. If you want to manifest abundance, whatever that is for you, you need to understand that the power is within you to create your own reality. And being broke is not cool. I'm here to tell you, being broke is not cool. Struggling is not cool. Having lack of financial literacy is not cool. The new cool is understanding how to bend this financial matrix to your will. Don't mean broke.
Peace, 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 family. How are you all doing? My name is Keisha. I am the owner of A Way of Life. I am a career and business coach using astrology. Today, I'm coming on here to talk about the Saturn retrograde happening tomorrow, actually, on June 5th. And it'll be in retrograde until October 23rd, I believe is the exact date. And I did do the weeklies for this week, so I missed you guys because I deleted it because the original that was sent out had my son in the background, and I thought I could edit the video, and maybe there was a way that I could have, but whatever. I didn't have the time to figure it out, so I just deleted the whole video. But if you do want your weekly astrology sent to you, specific to you and your chart, you can send me an email at awayoflife.net, or just click the Patreon button at the top of the link on the YouTube thingy there to become a Patreon member for your weekly astrology. And you'll get that a week in advance every Saturday. So I actually really like this Saturn retrograde. We'll feel this heavily July, August, and September, which I'm going to be honest, I'm not looking forward to it. I'm just not. Not that part. And I'll talk more about that at that time. But the signs that will feel this the most are Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Taurus. And I also want to incorporate Capricorn because Capricorn is also ruled by Saturn. And it's the ancient ruler of Aquarius, but it's the fixed signs that this is going to affect the most. So Capricorn is a cardinal sign, but I still feel like because it's your ruling planet, you will feel some of this. Saturn rules karma, delays, restrictions, reality checks, time, maturity, responsibility, discipline, structure, and your goals. It's been in the sign of Aquarius since the end of 2020 and will be there until May of 2023. And another reason I'm including Capricorn in all this is because all of 2020 was, I coined the year of Capricorn, which was all Saturn ruled. So we're really like repeating the same thing, but with it being in Aquarius and its modern ruler being Uranus, we're freeing ourselves from these kind of rigid structures and systems, which I think has been great for a lot of us, the ones who see and have foresight and are really paying attention. But, you know, like anything, when you're trying to change something that's been a specific way for a really long time, it's hard, right? Change is not that easy. And so we are struggling with that transition, this process of learning how to be more free, you know, and what that looks like to everybody. So Aquarius rules networks, your net worth, friends, groups, events, concerts, internet, social interactions, social limitations, and all the isms, the socialisms, racism. It's a very social sign. So it rules all of those political things there. And that culture of socialism, which I'll be talking a little bit more about when we get down below. And it's also ruled by Uranus, which is shocks and surprises and things coming out of nowhere, you know, the unexpected changes. Literally, Uranus is not predictable, right? And so when you have so much predictability, or a planet that is highly activated that represents unpredictability, it's really hard to gauge what is going to happen. I think it's also about downloads and really communing with the universe, with the sky. And so I know that I've spoken to a lot of people, and they're talking about having a lot of wake-up calls. It is the awakener. And just having a lot of downloads, visions, dreams, you know, acknowledgements of their future goals and things that they are meant to do, or they're being drawn or pulled into that direction with some of the things that have kind of been happening in their life. And I could only assume that a lot of other people are experiencing that as well. So we'll get the chance to revisit what's working, our structures. And if we see any repeating patterns or themes that are coming up at this time, we can refocus, rethink, re-aim, and kind of let go of whatever the karma is that's coming with that, especially from a world perspective. I think we're seeing that a lot more. And so really being able to let go of that karmic baggage. So come fall, if you've been slacking off, delaying, denying, not allowing yourself to commit any further on whatever this is for you and your life, it's going to cause friction when Saturn goes direct in October, especially because it's also going to be eclipse season as well. In fact, we'll be right in the heart of it at that time for Saturn to go direct. And you know, I think that that's going to make it all the more intense, because now not only do you have to pay attention to what the eclipses are bringing up for you in your life at that time, but you also have to do whatever it is Saturn was asking you to do during this period of time. So, you know, I suggest that people take this opportunity to get more structure. Do what Saturn wants you to do. It's really not that hard. Get more discipline in your life, wherever it is that you have dreams and goals, wherever you have expectations. Make sure that you have those things within yourself. You can't ask for something if you're not giving it or working on it, at the very least considering it, thinking about it, and asking the tough questions, right? And if you have been doing the work and you'll continue to do the work during this time, it's really about finding a healthy balance too. So it's not all bad, it's not all tough work. And we're getting ready to get into some of what that's going to look like for you all. But you will receive rewards. Saturn gives gifts for hard workers. And so with an eclipse in Scorpio and Taurus, to be getting some kind of gift from Saturn, this is wealth. You know, this is wealth at its best. So really, really yumminess for those people out there who are ready to go in and do the work. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell if you haven't already. We are trying to grow our channel, so the more you share, we appreciate it in advance. And the notifications bell allows you to see all of our videos when we go live. So, family, I really do like this transit. This transit has been aligning us to our goals and bringing awareness to who we spend time with. I can't stress how heavy that's been for me. Do we have friends we can rely on? I don't think we do. I think the pandemic really messed people up. I mean, I feel like it was already there, the undertow, but people might have been really fake about it. And I don't mean fake like in a negative way. I mean, we're really struggling on how to connect, what it means to connect, because we have so many underlying issues that we are not dealing with. And so we're, in a sense, kind of living in this world with rose colored glasses, right? And, we can get some serious reality checks about that at this time and be forced to let a lot of people go. Um, do we have friends who share the same values? That's even harder, because people who have their life together, they're not looking for you. They're not checking for you. You have to literally go out and find those people. And I think the really hard thing about accepting this is this culture and its social isms, right? Because we're a very socialist country, which is fine. I like the socialist part. In some perspectives, I think that they're important to have those kind of bigger conversations, right? Because this is all about freedom, your free will to kind of do these things within these different modes of isms, right? And so that's great. Here's the thing: there's no more culture. And when I say culture, I mean like going back to the old days, the good old days, when we had morals, ethics, respect, um, teachers on every corner, you know, expectations and accountability, leaders who teach us these things and hold us to these accountabilities. Common sense can't be taught, and as much as we want to evade the idea of, being wealthy, or that this life and getting healthy and having a conscious mind and things of that nature has anything to do with wealth, they are one and the same by definition. And I talked a lot about this on my posts that I've done, and just kind of understanding, what are your values? And when you have high values, it doesn't matter if you want the wealth, that's what's going to come in, but it doesn't, that the wealth is not the end all be all. And I think that's the piece that we've really been disconnected to, because it's all the social isms, right? It's kind of turned into all this socialist chatter. And there's a disconnect to the part that that's what's going to bring you in the wealth, right? And so that ideology of like overemphasizing money is very true, in the sense that I think people are disconnected from because life isn't all about money. But to have a good time and to have high values comes with having money, because you're only going to get true real services outside of the confines of these systems and structures, because these systems and structures are not really set up to allow the type of freedom that comes with high values, good values. So it's a thin line of understanding, and I think it's really tearing a lot of us apart socially, and we don't even know how to connect with one another anymore. And so, and in light, I would like to go back to a lot of posts that I was doing about Gemini season, and open up your mind, be more flexible to think outside of the box and come up with solutions to the problems that you're having by learning. Get educated, educate yourself on things, even if you're not interested in it, especially if you've been struggling and you've tried everything. Well, now I think you're faced to look at the fact that you might have to try something outside of the box, which I think happens to everybody once they reach a certain pinnacle in your life. You begin to realize, like, oh shoot, maybe I'm realizing now I do have to kind of work outside these structures and systems, which really goes back to supporting Black businesses or small businesses, and the importance to that, because these kind of these big businesses are not supporting, local communities and things that it takes for us to kind of build together and work together in that way. Another thing is that it's all based off of business, right? And who wants to have the conversation about what it takes to connect with others around the idea of business? We're treading on some really thin waters, because it's not about business anymore. It's about who do you work for? And, you know, it's really disconnected us in a major, major way. So are we working hard and really focusing on teamwork and group efforts? From a business perspective, it has brought awareness to trends we use to get followers, the algorithm. God, I'm so sick and tired of having that conversation. Freedom of speech and leveraging your business using social media, marketing management. I hate marketing management. I hate the entire world of automation because it's so damn confusing. You got I take that back. You got 600 different ways that you can automate something, and like 700 other people who do very specific things, and not all one and the same. So you're literally going to have a team of people if you have a business and you want that business to grow. And nobody seems to be able to tell you all these things straight out the gate. These are things you have to go learn, and it's all trial and error. And I promise you, you are going to get frustrated with it because the communication in this field, it's like they all expect you to know what this is when everybody knows that nobody knows what this field is. It's probably one of the most annoying things about business in this entire freaking world. And, you know, not to be pointing fingers or anything, but I have to say this out loud. We're to blame for all of that because we're not connected to our business and, you know, our family business, our home business, our business of life. You know, you can, you know, give it whatever kind of name you want. The bottom line is us as a people haven't made the decision to acknowledge the fact that we run this country. We really still think that we have to follow something or somebody, which is another reason why Gemini season is so epic at this time. And I really hope that people are like, ding, 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 like some lights or something go off, like you control your life. And the more you feed into these systems and things that are already not working, the more difficult it's going to be, which is why we are going to automation, you know, because we're allowing somebody else to control our life, and we're living under the guise of that, and we're reflecting and creating their reality, the reality that they want, the culture that they want, the beliefs that they have. And I'm going to talk more about this for the Sagittarius full moon, because that's kind of what all of these things are ruled by. And so, you know, we have come so far from who we really are, and it's showing. And you can hear people like complain about it, but still nobody knows what to do, and that's sad. That's very sad. So I think this time is also going to challenge us to think differently about these processes, how it works. You know, what are we doing to make it work, and understand that process. So very frustrating, but interesting at the same time. I'm pretty sure, you know, work and work ethic, jobs, job numbers, and how we work is going to be revisited because this, like I said, this is really the continuation of 2020 and everything that happened at that time, because it's still ruled by Saturn. And so, you know, have we resolved those issues? Can people work from home now? It's going back to the automation thing and being able to automate your services, or marketing management and funnels. And listen, just saying those keywords makes me want to smack somebody. Okay, it's annoying. It really is annoying. You know, and don't get me wrong, on the one hand, social media and the internet are amazing for leveraging your business and your life in general, right? And I think that we've seen those positives all during 2020 because we were still able to communicate in some way, shape, or form via the internet. And that was great. That was an amazing opportunity. But, you know, again, the downside to that is it still takes away the control from us, the physical touch from us, and other things that I'll be talking about in just a second here. So let me stay on track. And so there can be more delays in work, delays with coworkers. Maybe people can't hire as much as they want to. Delays in the workplace. Maybe there are still some people who can't, who haven't been able to open back up, and they're again still trying to figure out how to automate their services. Maybe they've had to get really incredibly um, creative on how to do those types of things, and that shit is not cheap. This automation and marketing management and this whole field is disgustingly expensive, right? And so nobody can afford all of those things, not to mention not everybody knows how to do it. There's really just a good handful of folks who do, and a lot of them are outside of the country. And so I think another avenue here that we're reconsidering is the type of work that we're into. The Lord knows I'm in the wrong field. I should either be anything to do with money or internet, social media, digitization, automation, and all those things there. That's where all the real money is. But, you know, how many people are interested in doing those things? Are there a bunch of different places where you can go to learn those things? Because I've heard that even that's an issue. You know, there aren't very many places teaching you how to do all of those things. There could be issues with employees if you are somebody who has a business and has employees. And then healthcare and the jab, again, these things could be coming up quite heavily with, you know, public health and their expectations. I know that there was one point where they said you didn't need your mask anymore, and then something else came out, and I think that just threw everybody over the roof, and they went back to putting their masks on. It was insane. So I can only imagine that more conversations, more new expectations, or same expectations extended in some way, shape, or form. Even the healthcare field, I don't know if anybody has had a doctor's appointment since COVID has happened, but I hadn't. I'm not gonna lie, I was uninterested in being out in the public. But I finally went, seeing as things slowed down and such, they still have expectations of you wearing your mask. It doesn't matter what the outside world is. They got a big message there saying that, which by the way, they don't tell you over the phone. So if you don't wear it and you're somebody who doesn't really care too much for it, now you've had to kind of reprogram yourself to be like, okay, so I don't wear it, but I got to have it just in case, because some places are not open to people not having them. And then this particular place that I go, I know, I'm pretty sure it's not like this everywhere, but they have the lab inside the healthcare facility, which is extremely big. It's kind of like a hospital. They have almost every damn department in there, which is freaking awesome, by the way. But the lab testing place is separate from the hospital. So they have their own service and the way they do business. And if you've already had an appointment for that day, but you still need labs, you can go. But if they got appointments, those people get to go before you. Look, y'all, I don't have the time, okay? I mean, it wasn't that bad, okay? I'm over exaggerating a little bit, but it was really annoying to see like 3 or 4 other people come in when I've been sitting there for a really long time already. Not to mention there was still like 5 or 6 other people ahead of me. That type of shit, that's ridiculous. That shit's for the birds. They need to fix that shit. Okay. And so I'm sharing that to say, I'm pretty sure that there are other kinds of services who are experiencing these same kinds of things where people need to get Saturn, you know, get some structure, some discipline, some better systems in there, more creative, think outside the box, you know, make it so that I mean, it's literally anxiety provoking. You can't tell the world wear your face mask because you're going to catch this disease and scare the hell out of them, and then have a service like such where you got 10 people in this small ass office. All right. The good news is that you could wait in your car. You didn't have to wait in the waiting room, but still, it's absolutely absurd. It was absurd, in my humble opinion. But I'm pretty sure there's a whole lot more stuff like that going on. And if people don't have the businesses to get creative as they'd like to, then it's going to be some time before we see a lot of those changes. And then you have the recession coming up, which is going to up the prices for everything. So that's going to prolong things even more. And, I just think we got a long way to go. But what I hope is that we get to see the end of the tunnel of how creative services can be, which I really do enjoy and appreciate that aspect of it, because I mean, nobody would think about going outside and to wait for an appointment. Even with how you sign in, it's all, through a little machine there, which is really cool. And then you can put your number in and it'll text you. I mean, those things weren't here before. I mean, I'm pretty sure they existed, but they weren't really needed at the time. So those things to see are pretty cool. Another thing is going to be customers, clients, those who require services. I think construction and unions and renters' rights, we're going to see more issues with that. So customers, clients, and those who need services, I think we're going to have a lot of trouble with that at this time, especially for people who aren't so disciplined and structured. And it's summertime, the weather's getting nice. We're going to run into these types of things. Maybe they don't have the money, things like this, because Saturn does rule the idea of some kind of poverty, not having enough, living under the guise of some kind of belief that a minimalist, right? Somebody who might not really want all of those things, or materialisms, or, things to make their life a little bit easier, right? And if they're challenging themselves or being forced to challenge themselves to get more value and discipline and structure in their life, we can run into a lot of these other kinds of issues with our clients, customers, and people who need services. And so construction, unions, and renters' rights. Now, renters' rights wasn't quite an issue up until about the end of 2020, I think, maybe even mid 2021. But I'm pretty sure it's a pretty big issue now. It's speaking volumes because people have not been able to pay their rent, and from what I understand under the renters' rights laws is that the landlords can't force people to, because of what's going on. There's just a lot of, again, their systems and structures just aren't set up to the point where it's more flexible and easy to be able to get these people in and out, help them with the things that they need, while still trying to make sure that we are following under the restrictions or expectations for COVID, right? And so that's a tough one. I think Saturn rules structures and systems, so that's why I say construction. There could be a lot of workers' complaints, or not a lot of work, not a lack of work at this time. And so a lot of streets blocked off. Like you see, these types of things happen all the time at specific times of the year. They can't work for whatever reason. I don't really know what's going on behind that, but in the unions, I think with the schools, I'm pretty sure teachers are on a union, but it doesn't matter, whatever field they are in. These things could come back up, whatever that was that came up last year. So we will see. It'll all be interesting, sure. And then if you have your sun in Aquarius or Capricorn, probably less Capricorn, but I'm just saying it because I think Capricorns are going to feel this too because it's your ruling planet. And I feel like these themes honestly are going to show up because these are all themes that are come under the guise of this energy. So I'd even say, even whether or not you have a sun, it might not be as strong, but these could be things that you see happening out in the world a lot. So this can be difficult times, poverty, responsibility of being mature, being more healthy, or health restrictions can come up at this time. You can feel literally tired in your body. And it could be due to health, or stress or depression or, a fear of something, that energy in your body that you feel when you're restricted from something. You can feel the need to rise to the occasion on the opposite side of this. Especially when it comes to your personal goals, or men in your life could be depictions of that, whom you look up to, or a father figure, or bosses, or maybe even you're becoming somebody that people look up to, a boss or a father figure in some way, shape, or form. These could be definitely things around your career, your happiness, and your independence. And what does that look like for you? How are you managing that and holding yourself accountable to bring those things into your life? And if you have moon in Aquarius or Capricorn, you can be dealing with an aging mother, feeling pressure from responsibilities as a mother. You can experience depression, questioning what have you been taught around being responsible, and whether or not you feel like you can do it, and that can cause conflict. So having a lot of conflict resolution things in place. I did a few videos on this, especially back in 2020. I feel like I did a lot back in 2020. I think I have a playlist. So if you're kind of looking for those types of things, you can go check out those career videos in my playlist. They give a lot of ideas on conflict resolution. So your fears of independence are being highlighted here. What are your tools, which you can get through counseling, or also really, I believe the problem is that we don't have culture anymore, back to what I was saying before, because you can't be taught common sense. Common sense is not taught. Those are through experiences that you have from somebody in your immediate environment teaching you, something that is passed down. You know what I mean? Some expectations that somebody has of you, because you're being raised by somebody of, some high expectations, or I don't even want to call it high expectations, but good manners. Good manners. My teacher is a Sagittarius. I talked about her before, and she's teaching us these spiritual practices, and I feel like she is the embodiment of culture, which is what the full moon in Sagittarius is going to be teaching us. And again, I'm going to go in more on that at that time. But she's a guru, a spiritual teacher, and and she holds those things near and dear to her heart. I mean, she lives what she teaches. Like, she is a great example of somebody who truly and genuinely believes in her culture, her own culture, the things that she learned, that somebody taught her, somebody sat down with her and said, hey, look at these things here, assess these things here, and implement these in your life in this way. And this will bring you good wealth, good health, good common sense, how to make decisions, and things of that nature, right? And her husband just passed away recently. I know I've talked about this in other videos, and you would never know. You would have never known that he was even sick, the way she kind of effortlessly walked around with her head held high And I say that not to say like, I'm pretty sure she fought with this a lot. Especially the storyline behind it, which he had cancer for years. Who knew? Um, you know, but they planned for it. They had information to know what they had to do. They had a belief in a culture that they had conversations with the people who they're close with, and they dealt with it as a family. And the repast was absolutely phenomenal. I have never seen a funeral like that before ever in my entire life. I was blown away. And I just thought that that was a great embodiment of somebody who has their own culture outside of what this culture teaches you, but you could see her strength in all of that. She still showed up to class, she still taught, and um and I know that's really hard for a lot of people to hear, because most of the time when we hear about these types of things, we're doing it from the culture of somebody who was given to us. And so it's to cry and, to see this part of it, the emotional, the social part of it that I think, again, I'm not saying that it's irrelevant. I don't want to make it seem like that's what I'm saying, because I'd be a liar if I said that I have my moments too. But it is ultimately about adding that feminine and that masculine energy within all of us separately, however that is put out into the world is going to be different for everybody, but there does need to be a healthy balance, right? It's not important for everybody to know your emotional mess. You deal with it by way of either, again, going to get some help, learning, educating yourself, and understanding how to fight your own battles within your family, within your culture, within your beliefs and understandings, to deal with those types of things. And I think just the way that we do things right now is they're very unhealthy. And I just don't feel like they're doing much of anything for us at this time. So um, yeah, and that's the problem. We are inheriting somebody else's cultures and beliefs, and so it really starts with an inheritance. There's no cultural belief that to get started in this world, someone has to pack you a lunch, you know? The same way you prepare for school, you prepare for life. So an inheritance is like someone packing a lunch for you. They're going to let you know that life is going to be hard. Life is going to be full of struggles. Life is going to be full of racism. Life is going to be full of challenges. So let me pack a lunch for you so that you can be prepared for these types of things. Well nourished and economically good. Like you'll have things to, so that you don't have to struggle. And the truth is, these things aren't being taught at home anymore. Like I said, we have assumed somebody else's culture and understanding, even though those people who do that assume that culture that I'm talking about, which is so crazy to me, that we're in a position now that we look up to a people that we feel like we cannot amount to. That is bonkers and it absolutely ridiculous. But that's where we're at right now. And that's where we're falling short. That is my biggest issue with all of this. Most educated Black people have achieved social net worth, which comes from social integration. So we have status, degrees. You might live in a nice neighborhood or have a good job, or you're the first Black manager at a company. When you look at assets minus liabilities, that's a negative number, literally. So you have actually added to the wealth gap and not reduce the wealth gap. And the fact that I feel like we know this too. I feel like we talk about it all the time, but the disconnect is like, okay, how do I separate myself from that and implement some real life action steps that are going to get me to change that outcome? And that's kind of the hamster wheel we're all trying to get off right now. I think Rich Dad, Poor Dad or Poor Dad, Rich Dad, did I say it backwards? Is a really good segue into this idea. So if you're really interested in getting to know more about this, don't stop there. Don't just read the book. Take the action steps, incorporate those things into your life, make them your philosophy, your belief. Um, this was a lesson that came up in 2020 for a lot of us. We realized we were on the wrong side of money. And that's what all those Capricorn and Cancer eclipses rule. Capricorn is the rigid structure systems that we're under, the guise of a culture that we're under, and Cancer on the opposite end of that is, financial wealth, emotional security, and all those types of things, high values, which really are which bring in money. Those having a healthy balance in those things bring in money because it's about an inheritance or passing down things from generation to generation. Now with the Scorpio Taurus eclipses, I think we're going to start to take more action in some of these things and actually resolve some of those problems, because that's what those things represent. I do think because of this, self-employment is going to grow, because again, whether we want to believe it or not, this really does have to do with our business or lack thereof. It's not about being employed by somebody in the structure that they have it in, and people are tired. I can tell that people are tired, but you need a skill. So get educated, and not necessarily through the public school system or even college for that matter, depending on what your profession is. You can learn more from a real estate course than a college course. So, reevaluate what you consider to be education, because that's another thing that's really slowing us down. But I'll get off my soapbox with that and get back on track here. This transit can cause trouble with boundaries and restrictions. So maintaining your schedule to get tasks done is going to be very important, because Saturn being in retrograde is kind of like the teacher leaving the room or the boss leaving the workplace, and, at this time it's going to be like asking yourself, who are you when no one's looking? Are you someone who is an independent worker and you're going to stay the course because that's naturally who you are? Or are you going to look at it and be like, I'll do that later? And you got too many of those, to the point when Saturn goes direct and the boss comes back or the teacher comes back and is like, well, what did you get done? What did you achieve? This is going to show you who you are in those certain situations. You will feel like a release of responsibility, structure, systems, discipline. It's a bit of a vacation time here. And I think that those things are going to be very healthy for everybody involved, right? To not have that pressure, because Saturn, boy, it gets a hold of you. It's very intense and anxiety provoking, to be quite frank. And these can cause depression. People who suffer from depression, or again, in my personal opinion, lack of education and knowing who you are, is really the underlying issue here. But we're all the role models to teach those things, especially if they don't look like you. There's so much I can say about this. I could be on this topic literally all day, and I'm mad because I'm forcing myself to rush through it. But, just be honest with yourself, or it will catch up to you in October, and it's not going to be pretty. I think I've talked about this before, is checking out the 4-hour work week, because that is, trust me, that theory works. Like, it's a real thing. And so check that book out for more information on how you can structure your day. It's not all about working hard all day. You can literally get most of the things you need to accomplish in one day by noon every day, depending on your sleep schedule, you know, how you wake up and stuff like that. But for the most part, maybe at the latest, 2 to 3. And then you got the rest of the day to yourself. And the really beautiful thing about a lot of this automation and all this stuff, um, is that you don't have to work from home. I mean, you can work from home, but you don't have to work from one place anymore. You can literally be on vacation and working, although, you know, some people might argue whether that's healthy or not, depending on why you're on vacation. But again, you know, we can argue about that, but I've talked about this before too, very briefly, not a lot. But you know, you do get a lot of benefits from having a home-based business and being able to, you know, pay yourself back if you were to go on a trip and you had to work. Um, you know, that might be something to think about. I like Lynn Richardson for that theory and that idea. She does a phenomenal job of breaking down what it means to have a home-based business, the structure and ideology behind that, and it is a very real thing. Okay. Okie dokie, yeah. That's just a repeat of a lot of what I already said. So this is definitely a time to upgrade your values, make changes in your spending habits, make changes with your food, with your eating. If you're somebody who does rituals and spells and has spiritual beliefs and they're not working, it's probably because you're not aligned as a person or an individual, or have clear goals and expectations, nor are you living by them. And that takes time, you know, really, because I still struggle with that. But Saturn is also the ruler of time. And just so understanding that just because something doesn't work out right now, it doesn't mean that you're aligned or you're not aligned all the time. It also could just mean that it's not the right time, right? Like they say a retrograde, you shouldn't do something because. So these are another things why it's really important to know your specific chart, dedicated to you. I think the exact astrology for that is intellectual astrology. I know I'm saying that wrong and I'm really upset with myself because I should know that. But it's about getting specific timing for things. It's a real science. So, but for the most part, I don't think this specific transit is, because it's retrograde, that this is not the time. In fact, I think it's quite the opposite, because you're going to get to see a lot of things from a different perspective that maybe you couldn't see before while Saturn was direct. And so in that way, not only do you have the time to get better and getting structured and disciplined, but also just know, again, going back to the timing piece, is that you might not see the fruition to it until October. It really depends on what it is you're asking for. If it's something big, naturally, you shouldn't expect to get it right away, depending on what it is. So keep that in mind too. And then there's the relational part, you know, the obvious setting boundaries when it comes to romantic love to get what you want out of your relationships. You know, don't ask for something if you're not embodying that energy within yourself or ready to give what it is you're asking for. But also, you know, the pandemic really opened us up to there being different kinds of love. You know, the love from your tribe, where's my people at? Platonic love, love for friends, and the love of your community. So I think we're really reassessing those things, especially in Gemini season. These themes are going to be emphasized because Gemini rules a lot of those themes. And I think there's a potential for this to be a little bit worse if you're dating or somebody who's looking for a relationship, because a lot of your exes are coming back. And if Saturn's down and not really working, you could give in more easily because you don't know yourself You don't have any discipline or structure. So, I mean, this could go both ways. You could see this as a bad thing, or it's just another opportunity to see those repetitive patterns that keep coming up for you to resolve and fix them right in the moment. Um, Even new relationships can have the potential to start a little bit faster because of lack of boundaries, or just, really jovial and exciting and happy and really allowing yourself to be in the moment, which could be a really good thing. It's just, um, you should, uh, you just got to let things like that breathe, and if you don't, then come October, well, the truth is that you could just find out that, well, damn, I wish I would have waited to know a little bit more about that before, I decided that I was gonna choose this person, only this person, and that's, that's the downfall to that. It doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't have to be something that's bad. It could be, with Jupiter and Aries. Oh boy, it's gonna be a hot summer. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But I did do a post about it. So, this is really about sleeping around. Very highly sexual energy here. People are going to want to have sex. Like that's like we don't already. It's going to be heightened with Jupiter and freaking Aries. So on the opposite side of that, we're talking about Saturn here. Saturn is so like old fashioned. This is a man who wants a woman who is going to cook for him because he works so hard and he's tired of eating out. Maybe he has health issues and he knows that he has to do better, but he really can't. Or, he might have to hire somebody to do that, which is unfortunate. But, this is what could be some of the expectations of men dating at this time, and vice versa for women. They can't take care of themselves financially, mostly, right? They need more income. All women do. No woman is making the amount of money a man works, especially a man who works his ass off. So, she might be looking specifically for a man to take care of her, and I feel like this day and age, having those kind of ideologies will leave you single, especially a woman who's, got too much pride or, feminism. Oh, that's a perfect word for that. She's a big feminist, I can do it all by myself, but you're still struggling. You probably really need somebody to help you. And it's sad because she's not going to ask for it. And so she lives in poverty. She's not as rich as she could be. Then there are some women out there who really are doing it big and they don't want for anything, but something's missing. I can go on about that too, but I think the bottom line is, the expectations change when Saturn is in retrograde. The needs change, the wants for things change. And with that lack of accountability or discipline and structure, you could be getting something completely different or untruthful. So overall, I still feel like this transit is great. Despite all the other stuff, this is an amazing time. And I think I'm really happy that we have it for the amount of time that we do. I think it's only 4 months in Aquarius, and then it moves back into Capricorn and then when it goes direct, it'll also move back into Aquarius. So that's what that, we're gonna find some difficult times with that Capricorn energy, but still needed nonetheless. And I'll keep you posted every step of the way. Family, I love and appreciate you. I hope you found this information helpful. Peace.